This week in East Brunswick, a new musical, Pippin, will be opening at Playhouse 22. First up, we'll meet some of the cast and get a sneak preview of one of the musical numbers. In Gourmet Cooking the Easy Way, Carol Merle will offer a quick recipe for a delicious fruit crisp dessert. Mary Tenaccio will offer tips for buying child's bicycles on consumer wear. This plus kids' comments and town council review coming up on This Week in East Brunswick. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Dolly Vasta for This Week in East Brunswick. I'm over here at Playhouse 22, and as you're seeing this on opening night, this is Tuesday night for us, and everything is absolutely frenetic here, so I'm trying to talk fast. Pippin, the latest production of Playhouse 22, opens tonight and will run through April 29th, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday matinees. We're going to see a number tonight with our very own Debbie White of East Brunswick. We're going to have a few words with her after her number, and I also want to have a few words with Rayla Glicker, director. I want you to meet them both. So don't forget, call the Playhouse 254-3939 for tickets and come out and see us. And now let's go on to Debbie.
I'm your average, ordinary kind of woman, competent and neat, taking life a treat, others as nice. You meet often, I know, at least once or twice every decade or so. I'm your everyday, customary kind of woman, practical, honest to the fault, conservative with a budget, liberal with a meal, just on average, I think. You're telling me this may seem sudden and strange. It may not interest you much at all right now, but things change. Things change. Still, I'll understand if I'm not your kind of woman. Anyone can make no one do all the same, and there's no special manner, no fate I grant her, for I'm just a plain, everyday commonplace, come what may, average, ordinary, wonderful girl.
Debbie, that number was absolutely delightful. And I want you to meet all our audience. Look at the camera. This is Debbie White, folks. And what role are you playing in Pippin?
Catherine.
Catherine? Is she this lovely, delightful young ingenue type that you look like you're all dressed for?
She's actually a widow with a small young boy, but she comes into Pippin's life when he's very depressed and kind of turns his life around for him.
That's what happens to girls who wear white. They come into someone's life and turn it around. Deb, you teach in East Brunswick, don't you?
Right.
Dag Hammarskjöld?
Dag Hammarskjöld, you've got it. I'm on a year's leave of absence this year, but I'll be going back next year.
Deb, what made you decide to come out and try for this role?
Well, I had someone tell me, I had never seen Pippin before, and I had someone tell me that this would be a good role for me to try for. So I looked through some of the songs from Pippin, and I loved the songs that Catherine got to sing. So I decided to come out and audition for it, and I'm very glad that I did.
Well, you know, the audience is actually seeing this on our opening night.
Right.
They will be seeing this Thursday night, but this is actually Tuesday night that we are taping this, and of course the usual freneticness is going on all around us. How do you feel? You nervous?
I'm a little nervous. I'm a little apprehensive, but I think for me personally, I have to get a little bit nervous in order to get all the adrenaline going and the excitement. It's good for me to be a little bit nervous.
Good, good. I'm glad that someone else can join the ranks of the Paranoid with Fear group. Deb, listen, I won't keep you because I know you have to get back to the dressing room, that the director wants to start the rehearsal, and before she goes off, I want to get a hold of Rayla to come over here and say hi to the audience. This is our intrepid director looking a little harassed, Rayla Glick. Rayla, I wanted to ask you, why did you decide to do Pippin?
Oh, it's a good question.
Yes.
Well, this will make the third time I've done Pippin, but the first time as a director. I'm very fond of the show. I'm very fond of the music. And I always liked the idea of trying it in a commedia dell'arte style, which neither of the other two directors I worked with was willing to do. So once the Playhouse announced that they were going to do it, I thought that it would be something I'd like to try, and Playhouse was willing to take a chance on me.
You know, I'm going to ask you something that we didn't even talk about before. Why do you think the Playhouse has so few female directors? You're really the first one that, well, I did the very first show, but so you're kind of the second one. But we really don't get many calls from female directors.
I don't know if there are very many in community theater, really, as I think back on it now that you've just suggested it. I think directing demands a very strong personality and somebody who isn't afraid to say to a lot of people, do what I tell you to do. And there aren't...
Or I hit.
Right, or I hit. And I learned that as a stage manager a long time ago.
Right.
So I have that background. But I think that a lot of women are afraid of that. They're more willing to say, okay, I'll go on stage, or okay, I'll do something else. But I don't want to be in charge. I don't want to be responsible.
That's
but
true.
I do.
Good. And you know, you're really doing a super job.
Thank you.
I mean, you know, the audience doesn't know that I'm co-producing this along with two other producers, Ron Lieberman and Elliot Tabenslag. But this has been a big job.
Yes, it's been a big job for everyone, and you and Ron and Elliot have really put in a lot of time. It's an enormous show, and truthfully, even having stage managed it twice, I didn't realize how enormous it was until I've started, and now it's getting very enormous.
And it's very close.
Yes, very close.
Very close.
But very exciting.
Yes. Well, Rayla, listen, as they say in the trade, brig a leg Thursday night, I'll be here. And let's hope everybody out there watching will be here, and we'll have a packed house.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And to all of you out there, I wanted to sign off with, I've got a great idea for all of you. Listen, it's only about 8 o'clock now. You've got plenty of time to make the opening. You can come in your jeans, your sweatshirt, whatever you're wearing. Just leave the dirty dishes in the sink. Come on out, have a great time to our opening night. We have a marvelous reception following. You'll get to meet the actors, have a couple little drinks, a little something to eat. In the meantime, take care.
Now Edward Swirk will review 5th Grade Magic by Beatrice Gormley.
This story takes place in the present time. It's about a girl who wanted to be in the school play more than anything. With the help of a young and mixed-up fairy godmother, she got to be the star of the play. The story didn't have much of a message, but I think the author has a lot of imagination. The godmother creates all kinds of crazy situations. I enjoyed this book, and I think other 5th and 6th graders should read it also.
Hello, I'm Carol Merle, Director of Food Services in the East Brunswick Schools. Welcome to our Chittick Kitchen and Gourmet Cooking the Easy Way. Tonight we're going to show you how to make fruit crisps. Our cook tonight is Mrs. Elaine Parker, baker at the East Brunswick High School. Mrs. Parker is starting by mixing 4 cups of crushed pineapple, with a 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 cups of juice from the can. And stir that all together. Next, she's going to add 4½ tablespoons of cornstarch, which has been dissolved in 1/4 cup of water. Now she's going to take this mixture to the stove and stir and thicken over a medium heat. After 15 to 20 minutes, when the filling is sufficiently thickened, Mrs. Parker will take it off the stove and bring it to the already prepared crisp mix. And Mrs. Parker is going to spoon the thickened pineapple mixture into the already prepared oat crisp mix. Due to a lack of time on this segment, we can't go through the steps, but the recipe will be given to you on the back of our March menu. Very simple, very nutritious, easy to prepare. The oat mixture can be made ahead of time and stored in the refrigerator. Now this is a 9 by 13 baking pan, standard in your homes. And she's going to take a reserved portion of the crisp mix and spread it over the top. And have like a sandwich, the fruit filling between the crisp mix. And after Mrs. Parker completes topping the mixture with the oat crisp mixture, she will put it in the oven, 375 degree preheated oven, to bake for about a half hour to 35 minutes, depending upon the degree of doneness desired. About 30 to 35 minutes later, Mrs. Parker will take our completed baked crisp from the oven and ready to spoon it out into our serving dish. Very good. And this can be made extra special by topping the crisps with whipped cream, Cool Whip, or even ice cream. That's our segment for tonight. I want to thank Mrs. Parker. And in 2 weeks, we'll be teaching you how to make a basic yellow cake that can be varied in different ways. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Consumer Aware. This is Mary Tenaccio, and today we're going to talk about the bicycles that we buy for our children. And all of us want to do that, and all the kids want a bicycle. We have to be cautious, though, in buying a bicycle. And the Consumer Product Safety has very strict regulations on a bike, but they are only as good as the children or the parents in maintaining them. One of the most important things in first buying a bicycle for your child is that the bicycle should fit the size of the child, that one should not be purchased that he's going to grow into, like an overcoat or a pair of jeans. The bike must fit the child. The child, while sitting on a bike, must be able to have at least 1 foot touch the ground. Before you let your child out on his own on a bicycle, please make sure that he can operate the bike properly. Teach him the rules of the road. Kids forget so very often. Keep reminding him. Check the bike with the child regularly. Check the brakes and the pedals, and make sure that the frame and the handlebars are always tight. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, bikes must have no unfinished metal edges. All the cables on the bikes and the handlebars must be capped. The pedals of a bicycle must have built-in tread construction. The brakes and the chain guards must meet all standards. Accidents will always happen, but with a little help from you, hopefully they will result only in minor scrapes, injuries, or bruises. These suggestions that I have given you today will minimize the hazards. And to maximize your awareness and standards, please buy a bike, use your logic, buy it for the right size of the child. Don't buy him a larger bike because he wants it. Tell him how important it is to his health and his safety that he have a bike that fit his size. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and we hope to see you again next week. If you have any further questions or any concerns, you can always call the Consumer Affairs Department 390-6954, any day, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you again.
At this week's Township Council meeting, an amendment to the 1984 municipal budget was passed. Here is part of the discussion which followed, including comments from all 5 council members and from the mayor. First, Council President Weber explained her support for several areas which received increases.
Say growth deliberately are in the areas of added policemen and additional funding for the library, and in the library particularly for the purchase of acquisitions to loan out to the public. And as far as I'm concerned, these are things that are really worthy of support within the community and a good balance of the type of thing that community government needs to do, which is to provide for safety and for education of its people and its welfare, and the welfare of its people. Mrs. Dinahan.
Lou, could you tell us the net results of what has occurred? Do you know the total now of what has been removed from the mayor's budget?
Yes.
Total.
You had initially removed $145,185, and tonight you, in essence, took out an additional $913. So that means that you've taken $146,098 out of the budget. 146,098 out. But because of the 2 snowstorms that have occurred, there's a net addition in this amendment of $15,000 that has to be put back in. That's part of this resolution. So you take $15,000 off the net. Then the memorandum that you received, I believe John circulated the memorandum that I had transmitted to him. Is that correct? Yes. And that showed that the net loss of revenue as a result of what the governor has done by the introduction of his budget is $143,296. So that's out of the $146,000 we have to put back in to cover revenues, $143,000. So the net effect is about $2,000 reduction from the budget as introduced by the mayor, although changed in accordance with this resolution.
So what tax increase will the public?
4 cents.
Mr. Baker.
Just a general comment. We did a really thorough job in cutting that $146,000 out of the budget that we thought might not be absolutely necessary in order to reduce the tax burden. And I think it's a real shame that the governor is playing games with the public and with local communities like ours by taking away funds from communities which are raised through a much more progressive tax system, the gross receipts and franchise tax, and placing the impact on the regressive property tax to municipalities. I think it's a real shame that that's the way he's chosen to go, but we don't have very much choice.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yeah, and obviously I think, it is my own personal opinion, that because this is an election year and then Governor Kane has indicated that he's not going to raise any taxes, has indeed not raised taxes directly. But what he's done is to juggle around with the gross receipts and franchise taxes so that the communities who have to make things happen at the local level, in fact, have to raise taxes to do that because we don't get the income that we have normally and traditionally been getting.
I really think that this is an election budget. I mean, the way the figures were bandied around as if we really don't have enough money. Actually, they raised the money from taxes to $7 million to 7.52, and the exchanging of surpluses and selling land and many of the other things. I mean, to come in with a surplus balance remaining of $20,000 where small towns have a surplus of $500,000. I think the Board of Education has about $1.5 million surplus. We wound up with a $20,000 surplus.
If this budget were constructed purely on the basis of it being an election year, I can promise you that it would have no tax increase at all in it. But this budget was constructed with a very careful assessment on my part and your part of the needs of the community, of the service needs of our residents, and the priorities that we wanted to establish. Certainly the need for additional police officers is one that we would be derelict if we didn't address and hopefully meet, and as well as the other services that are included in this budget. So that it is, I think, a realistic budget with a realistic and very careful and very stingy, if I might, assessment of the needs of the community.
The public hearing on the amendment will take place at next Monday's Township Council meeting. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching.